Alright, well, we've made it this far. Chapter 6. This is going to be a short one. Spatial data processing. How do we manipulate the data that we have access to? So we're going to talk about extracting data based on attributes and based on location. Also, an overview of some geoprocessing tools. There is an additional video on this module that goes through how to use the geoprocessing tools. We're not going to deal with Model Builder right now, but there are tutorials in the text to help you if you want to delve into that. Basically, it's where you string a bunch of tools together for a repetitive workflow or something along those lines, where you would press a button and it would go through all those steps in sequence. So it's good for repetitive tasks, but we're not going to get into that right now. But let's talk about extracting attributes from your data. So here we have an example. We have census tracts for the state of Illinois, and we just are interested, it's nice to have the tracts for the entire state, but either storage requirements or drawing speed or processing speed, we really just want the data for one county rather than for the entire state. So how do we do that? Well, in ArcMap, we go to the selection menu and select by attributes. We get a dialog box where we set up the layer that we're interested in, and then we create a query statement that satisfies the requirements that we're interested in. In this case, we're looking for Cook County. The tracts for Cook County, which in Illinois happens to have a FIPS code of 031. So we build our query, county equals 031, and then we hit OK, and then we can see the results in our maps. Only those tracts for Cook County are selected. So then, now that we have them selected, we can export them to a new feature class or shapefile. So we right-click on the data layer in the table of contents, go to Data, and select Export Data. We get a dialog there of we just want to select the exported features with the layers, the source data layers coordinate system, and we tell it where we want to save that as, and we have our own we have a new layer of just those tracts for Cook County. So then it asks if we want to add that to our map. We say sure. So now we have this blue layer here, which is the tracts for Cook County. You can see the light gray lines underneath. That's the statewide ones that we started with. Alright, so that's how we select by the attributes. But now we're going to look at how we can select records based on their location, their relationship with other layers, or how they relate spatially. So in this case, we have our Cook County census tracts, but we're really interested in only the city of Chicago. But there's not an attribute in the table for Chicago to identify those tracts that belong to the city of Chicago. What we can do is we can add a layer that shows the boundary of the city of Chicago, and we can go in there and we can say so this is the boundary layer for the cities in Cook County. Very strange looking boundaries, if you ask me, but we select Chicago, and then under the selection menu in ArcMap, you select by location. So this will start this dialog with defining their spatial relationship between the tracts and the city boundary. And it looks like it may have skipped a slide. Anyway, the parameters are: you select by location, and you get a dialog asking what layer you want to select from. and how that relationship with the other layer is. So in this case it would be, we want to select all the tracks whose centroid lies within the boundaries of Chicago, which is our selected feature in the municipalities layer. And so we end up with this green layer that represents the census tracts, but only in the city of Chicago. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about distance. In the previous example we used the centroids that lie within, but we can also use it to select based on proximity. So in this case we have an issue where our boss, the health officials, want to know polluting companies that are near water features. So we start with two layers. We start with our polluting companies and we start with our waterways. And you can see there in the dialog box we're going to select the polluting companies based on their proximity to lakes and rivers, and we're going to set a search distance of 1/2 mile. So this will on the fly look at the relationship between the points and the lines, and a buffer of 1/2 mile on either side or as a radius around a point, and select those features that fall within that buffer. Okay, so here we have the same data layers. Now we want to know. Now the school officials are wanting to know what schools are near these companies. So once we've made that selection from the previous slide, now we introduce the schools. So we do select by location again. We're going to select schools that are in proximity to the polluting companies. Again, we're going to set the buffer of 1 mile. So same basic concept, just using that buffer around a point rather than around a line. So here is an example using polygons and lines. Planner wants to know what neighborhoods are affected by a construction project. So we have that construction project selected, and then we select the polygons. You can see the pull down menu there identified by the red arrow where those polygons are intersected by that feature. This is another example. The city planner wants to know what buildings are completely within a zoning area. One point of caution when you are using polygons and polygons, the polygon must fall completely within your target area, and visibly it may appear to be, but if it's off by 1/1000th of a degree, it's not going to satisfy that selection criteria. But you can see here we're going to select from buildings. Our buildings are the target layer, our triangle shaped zone there, and we're going to select all of those that are completely within that area. We don't have to worry about a buffer because we don't care what's on the outside of that boundary, only what's on the inside. So like I said, this was short, 10 minutes, but this is where a lot of the flexibility and power lies in GIS analysis. The other video in this module goes through in a little more detail the geoprocessing tools, so give that a look as well. Work through the tutorials to get you comfortable and familiar with how those tools work, where they are, first of all, how to find them, and work through those tutorials. The assignment is 6-1, using some Colorado data. The assignment is in your book. The data is included with all of the other data for the assignments. As always, if you run into issues, let me know. Don't suffer in silence. Contact me via Canvas, and we'll see if we can work through this.